Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. The sun's shining, spring has sprung, so can't waste it. Get something done to the car today. So by now you'll have seen the video I done on the tie rod bushes. I was hoping that would have helped the pull when the car was driving and braking. It pulls to the right, quite bad actually. Didn't make a difference. You could feel better steering, but it didn't make a great difference. So what I'm going to be looking at is replacing the rubber cones and the knuckle joints. I had a quick look at the high-lows that are on it and the sizes were way off adjustment, so I adjust them to the same and it just set the car off all the wrong level and lopsided, so it's time for a rubber cone replacement basically. So I've done it before on Elner on a bare subframe, but I'm going to do it now from start to finish, replacing the cones and the knuckle joints and whatever other parts I find when I'm in there, which I know I will because it's a Mini. So yeah, from start to finish while it's on the car, let's go, and hopefully you stick with me and enjoy the video. Right, before we jack it up, put on stands and take the wheels off, I'm going to use the weight of the car and I'm going to undo the tower bolts, which for this model we've got one big tower bolt. For older models you've got the two bolts. So one bolt here, which isn't too bad. The other bolt here I'll need to move a few bits and pieces to get in because it's buried between wires and guards and everything, but it'll be fine as long as we're careful. So yep, let's find out how tight these are. I'm trying to do it without actually taking the bonnet off, but we'll see how I get on with that with the space here. So by using the big bar there, it just gives it more leverage and makes it a lot easier. Takes all the pressure off here and spreads it basically. So there we go, there's the first main bolt out. The rubber on here, it could be better to be honest. I think that'll be getting replaced as well, the bush here. Right, I'll do the same on the other side and then I'll come back to you. Right, got the other one off. It was quite tight, but once it went, it came off fairly straightforward. Just access was the problem. Again, the mount's not, the bush is not too bad, it's just a bit cut here, and for the price of these things, yeah, it'll be getting replaced. So that's both of them off now. It's just a case of getting the car jacked up, axle stands, wheels off, and then I'll come back to you when I'm at that stage. Right, wheels off and safety first. Wheel chocks at the back so the car's going nowhere. So the reason I'm hoping this car is pulling to the side, you can see the high low it's on at the moment. That's about just over 20, maybe 23 mil that the high low is there. If we go around to the other side, it's sitting about 10 mil, so it's twice as high on the other side, and that's what it takes to keep the car level. I did try adjusting the high-lows so they were the same and it didn't sit right at all, which to me suggests it's the cones or the knuckle joints in here. So before I start anything, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go around and put penetrating fluid in all the bolts that have to come off the top of the ball joint here, the shock absorber, and any other ones I can get into the top arm here for the shaft, and hidden away behind this bit in here as well. So I'll do that, and then by the time I'm doing the rest of the stuff, it'll have given it time to actually do its job and hopefully loosen some of the bolts. So I'm going to be focusing for you guys on the driver's side, or if you're in America or somewhere, left-hand drive, the passenger side. So yep, I'm just going to basically film what I can for you and explain what I'm doing as I go. So here we go, let's get these cleaned up a wee bit and lubricated. Right, first thing I'm going to take off is the shock absorber. So 9/16 bolts here and here. Problem being the rust, you can see the rust on them. We'll turn them first and see how they're going to take. So we can see that came off okay. It's in a bit of a sorry state, so these I think are going to be replaced. Right, we need to split this top ball joint, so I'm going to undo this bolt here. Not all the way, I'm going to stop it at the top. Then I'm going to put this ball joint splitter. I'm sure you've seen that before. Get this kind, or you get the split kind that basically the fork kind goes in here and you hit in and it separates it. Or you can hit with two hammers either side, but I've used this one before and I prefer this one. So what happens is basically this part here sits in here, goes over the top, and you basically tighten it down and it forces it apart. So yep, let's go ahead and do that. Right, so this ball joint is spinning within it. Managed to get it so far up, but it's not wanting to come anymore. So I'm going to try a few things. First I'm just going to try and get an air gun in there, see if the impact of the air gun will shock it loose. If that doesn't work, I'm going to jack up the whole of this, try and put pressure on the bottom of here and see if that will come off. If that doesn't work, we're going to try and grip the ball joint in here somewhere and then try and get it off. If that doesn't work, snip, it's getting cut. The other side came off no problem. It just didn't turn at all, so it just needs a bit more work, and as you can see I've got the shock absorber off on this side as well. Nope. Right, jacked up to take some of the pressure. Right, because it's jacked up I was able to tighten it down slightly, which means I could get a wire wheel attachment and clean the end of here, and I'm going to now try and get it out with the air gun, see if it can come off before it starts spinning. Fingers crossed. Persistence works. And it's off. Right, so this is removed, the jack's been taken away, this is loose. Ball joint's free, as you can see from there. The only thing stopping it coming out is obviously the pressure being pushed down on the top arm here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back up to the engine bay, put the rubber cone compressor through the tower bolt hole, compress the spring, that will basically lift this up, lets us get into this bump stop here, pull this out, and that'll give us a lot more freedom in there. Right, I don't know how bad the wind is, so apologies for the sound if the wind's picked up a bit. So this is a metric, so the end size here is 14mm. Goes down the tower bolt. This end here goes through there, screws into the rubber cone. Once that's there, locked in place, you then turn this end, and what it does is it pulls this up like this and just basically compresses the cone, which gives you more room down there to work. So I've done this before, I found it quite fiddly with all this on, so I just take this off 2 washers, and this will screw right off. So then you've just basically got a bar, and it's a lot easier to manoeuvre than everything wobbling about on it. So get it down, you'll feel when it's threaded in. If it's not going in properly, don't force it because the first one of these I had, the thread went on the other end. The thread isn't strong on it, so and it will break. Depending on the cone as well, depends on how good the thread it is. If it's got rust in it, there's no way to get to it then from here. You'll know when it gets to the end of the thread because it starts getting tight. Like that. Oh. Sleeve goes over very tightly because I'm adamant I'm not taking the bonnet off, because as soon as I do it'll start raining. Two washers. So that's it. It's just basically a case of tightening this up and holding this bit in place so the thread doesn't come loose. And it's just going to basically lift all this up here. So at the moment there's no play here at all, but I'm going to go and turn this and then I'll show you the play, the difference it makes. These are high-lows, so I could wind these all down, which would give the same effect, but I find it easier and quicker doing this at the top because it's to come out anyway. Right, so the problem I'm having, which I've had before and I'm sure I'll have again, the thread down here, as soon as you tighten it, it's just pulling away from the rubber cone, so it's not getting a good enough grip. So I'll have a look at that once I get it off, but what I'm going to do instead of that is basically I'm going to get this high-low wound right down and get the whole thing loosened off from there. Right, so because I've got the high-low is wound down as far as it can go, no thread, and what that does is there's you a lot of room there to play with. You've seen it was really tight before and now it's completely off the ball joint here as well. Just to give us a bit more extra room, I'm going to take this lower bump stop off, which is basically one screw here, and you'll see the difference the more room you've got there. It gives you, I think it's about another 10mm play. There we go. So the difference there, it allows it to drop a lot further. Right, so this is probably dropped enough so that we can probably manage to get this out. Let's have a look. So there we go. Knuckle joint, high-low, and the rubber cone flapping about. That looks very squashed. Right, these don't come out with the top arm in place here, and the new one wouldn't go in anyway, so this top arm has to come out here. So the biggest problem here is access. It's held in by a bolt in here. We need to get this bolt undone, slide the pin through that way. Once we've cleared the pin that's here to here, this will pull forward, but as you can see in here there's no room, and this can't go any further back because of the firewall. So let's go and try and get rid of this one. Might have to put something on this side to stop it spinning and then see if we can get it out.
1 3/4 nut, and 1 spring washer. Right, so I need to get this shaft pushed through that way to get this out, but it's held on with a bracket at this end by 2 nuts and bolts. First one here, which is a bolt on one side and a nut on the other, so that'll be fairly straightforward. Problem is there's another one here which comes in from this side. So this is a captive nut here, so you just need to get in here and turn this, but as always access is the problem. So the 2 screws are out, 2 bolts are out. Very hard access. You can see in there. Front one, this one is fine. The back one, near enough impossible. But I've taken the ECU out and you can see you can just about get in there. Just down behind the slave cylinder. You can just get in there to get it loosened off. So because that's loosened off, it means this bracket's no longer holding it in place, and this pin can be pushed through that way enough to let this arm basically come loose. So that's the next step. So just one of these things just to try and get some levers to get it pushed across. You can see as I'm pushing it, it's coming away at this side. Just needs to be enough here to get this turned in out, because it'll only go so far back here before it starts fouling on the brake parts, etc. There you go, top arm out. Roller bearings actually inside look quite good. Just needs cleaned up, which I'll do. This can just stay here out the way, it's not causing any problems, meaning we can get this out. Look at the state of that. I'm so glad I took this out to change it. That is completely squashed. We'll compare that to the new one when I get the new ones, but yep, well worth changing. So I'm just going to go in, I'm going to get all the grease and everything cleaned up from here, get this top arm cleaned and checked, make a parts list of what I need to order, and I'm going to do the same on the other side. While I'm in here, the bump stop needs replaced, so all of this will be getting done at the same time. Everything cleaned up. I'll come back to you guys when everything's clean, I've got the parts and I'm ready to start reassembling.